It
It's like
was
90 years. Wow. Yeah.
a guy named Sam Orton. And Sam Orton was a neuropathologist. So he was looking at brain function back in the 1920s.
Wow.
And he theorized that a student that is struggling with reading he noticed that the students that do struggle with reading, their physiology, the brain physiology, the way it was set up, the way it was wired is a little different than the normal students, because after all, the written word is we just learn to talk naturally, right? That's done for millions of years, right? So that everybody's pretty good at that. Some are better than others. But the written word's only been around for 10,000 years. So our, ape brains, some people are better at that than others. And it's truly on a sine wave. I mean, you've got about 20% of the kids that suck at it and are probably dyslexic. And then there's 20% of the kids that probably learn how to read without having any instruction. And then there's the 60% in the middle.
Yeah, and it's funny because my daughter is 4 and she's like tracing letters now. My wife and I are like, sometimes she does an S backwards and we're like worried about it, and kind of thing. We're like, as a parent, you're kind of you're neurotic about that stuff. But
right.
I mean, she's
for
little,
sure.
so I don't, who knows at this age. But anyway, it's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and a little bit of explicit instruction is going to help her get over that hump.
Yeah.
As long as she's not dyslexic.
Right, which we don't know yet. I mean, she's a smart kid, but you don't know. I don't know when. I don't even know when you'd start testing for something like that. But Andrea and I, my wife and I, have been talking about that. Anyway, it's just top of mind right now in terms of our own little one of our little ones. Yeah.
Yeah, good. So we're into this because, well, I'll tell you why we started it. But basically, I'm dyslexic, and I got access to an awesome Wharton Gillingham tutor when I was younger. So that person turned my life around, and that's why we really started the company, is because I want to have as many kids that struggle with reading to have the same experience I had. I went from being a really shitty student in second grade, and by the end of fourth grade, I was fine. I was able to go through one of the toughest prep schools in Minnesota and on to honors in college and so on. So just as you said, your kid's a smart kid. That doesn't mean she'll be able to learn to read very well, because if she's dyslexic, it's going to be difficult for her. Hopefully she's not. Hopefully she doesn't go through the same struggle that I did. But let me just get to the point.
It happens. Yep.
So Sam Orton, neurologist, as I said, noticed the difference between a kid that struggles and a kid that doesn't. The physiology was different. So he, with a woman named Anna Gillingham, who was an educator, came up with a way for teaching reading to those kind of students. And it started from, well, where do you get most of your information? You get it through the eyes and the ears, right? In the classroom. Well, let's create a program that uses the sense of touch as an input for those students. It just provides another pathway for those students. And certainly dyslexic students, dyslexia doesn't mean you're stupid. Dyslexia just means that you don't learn how to read very well. And dyslexia specifically, the word was invented about maybe 30 years before Sam Orton was doing his work. Dyslexia just means, it's two Latin roots: difficulty, difficulty, lexia, with language. So difficulty with language. Okay, so it has nothing to do with IQ. So anyway, those two, Orton and Gillingham, devised this multi-sensory way of teaching reading. So if you're learning the shape of a letter, you're going to be tracing it, right? If you're learning to blend three words together and you've made a mistake before, you're going to trace those three sounds. You're going to segment on your fingers a word to be able to break it apart. Bad. So you're going to be like that. It's basic stuff, but still, it's another input for the brain, and the repetition of that just makes it easier for a dyslexic student to get that information. Okay, so endeth the lesson on Orton Gillingham.
So fascinating, yeah.
So that method was invented, as I said, in the late 20s, early 30s, and then studied from basically the 40s until well, up until today. And it's the proven method for dyslexic students. Okay. So as I said, I got access to an awesome Orton Gillingham tutor when my parents figured out in the early 70s that I was dyslexic. And she turned me around. And then I went through college. And about 3 years after college, I was working for my dad. And this same woman came back to me, came back to us as a family and said, so I've been doing this. I've been working for schools, and she had built a nice, successful practice, and she was consulting with schools and working with maybe 3 or 4 kids in that school. And the leadership would always come back to her and say, her name is Arlene Sunday. So she would be like, Arlene, these 3 or 4 kids are doing awesome, but I got 27 others that are struggling. What can we do with them? How do we duplicate you so we can solve the needs of the whole school? So that's when she came back to us and said, I want to build a toolkit that makes it it's still true to this Orton Gillingham method that I've spent my whole life teaching, but I want to make it simple so Jeremy could do it. And that really is the origin and the genesis of the company. And the fun thing about that is that still today, that's the first thing we say to a prospect. You might know the effectiveness of Orton Gillingham. You might be looking at trying to solve the needs of your dyslexic students. And there are other options that you have. There are other experts that have built toolkits that make it so you can teach kids the Orton Gillingham way. But we've just figured out how to build a toolkit that makes it so somebody that doesn't have a lot of training can still be a highly effective tutor. So able to scale Orton Gillingham faster than anybody else. That's what makes us better. That there was the 7-minute answer to your question.
Got it. Okay.
So that's really what's making it so we're growing significantly. And so we used to have just let's get a bunch of clients problem. And now we've got a bunch of clients. And the issue there is to find a person, get them. So I will absolutely demand. I said, look, if we're going to do training, I want this training to be the best training somebody's ever had in the district. I don't care if it's about reading. I don't care if it's about math. I want to make sure that this district and all those teachers walk out of that day of training and be like, wow, that was awesome. So we're super picky about who we get. And I'm not going to change those standards because it's really what made us so we have such a good reputation in the school field.
Yep.
But it's creating a pain point for us, and we've literally trained 6,000 teachers this year, just this year.
Wow.
And we've trained 46,000 in the last 20 years, but you can see 6,000 out of 46, we're accelerating significantly, and we're just burning everybody out. So we're being super demanding, but everybody's on. I mean, at this time of year, it really ramps up in July when everybody wants to start having their training. And by this time of year, everybody's just yelling at each other just because it's like, I can't get on another plane. Okay.
You're right. Your team, they can't flex all those places. I mean, this is why we designed the platform. I mean, literally, so now you're sort of in your pitch, also sharing our pitch back to you, which is like, like it's so funny when when you hit a nerve in something, which we have, and it's great to hear because we're supporting, we're kind of at that inflection point where we've been all word of mouth and really focused on these deep relationships, Tom, and making sure we're driving a lot of value, very similar to your history. Obviously, we're 7 year in, so we're younger than you, but not infants. We're, I don't know, toddlers or I don't know. But we're doing it adolescents. Yeah, we're not even toddlers. That's true. We're at adolescents at this point, especially in dog years. But yeah, it's fantastic to have created something that can profoundly help in these ways, and I think it allows you to kind of reach your pain point directly. I hear that fully and feel it from you. And then also kind of levels of productivity and having, not having to use multiple tools to do this as well and to be able to scale. So because then you get to a point where, like you said, you want to open things up and open the throttle a little bit more. And it's really hard to do that without taxing people. And it's, in some ways, it's almost impossible if the communities are rural. So I fully hear you and empathize with where you are.
Okay. So I'll ask you the same question back. What makes you guys better? Because there's a lot of other training platforms, right?
Yeah. And maybe it might, we sort of hop onto the site and I can, while I'm telling you, show you a few things. Would that help?
Yeah, I think would help. Let me just give you 2 minutes of what we feel like we want to build. And then
Yeah. No, please. That would be great. I always ask that. And I'm recording this, by the way, in case you want it later, just so you're aware if that's okay.
Well, good.
I just didn't want to interrupt you. Yeah.
I will want it back because I feel like I want to get a script for myself on why Orton Gillingham is great and why we're really good at what we do. I just answered that question and it's never been recorded. So
good. Now it has. Trust me, I get it. It's like you say the same thing over and over, and then you want to have a recording. And now my next step is to sort of figure out an easy way to put that recording out so other people can see it, so that they can learn a little quicker about what we do. But it takes time. Yeah.
So, and again, I definitely. I'm a curious person, and I can tell you're a curious person.
For sure.
I'll tell you what we have in mind, and then you're gonna be like, "Well, that's fine, Tom, and that sounds really good, but I have a better way to do it." So,
okay.
I'm gonna tell you what we have in mind, not knowing what the platforms can do.
Please,
right?
I love it in vacuum.
Platforms,
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I've done a little bit of research, and there's other training platforms out there, but I really, as you can tell, I don't want just anyone. I want the best.
Yep.
So here's what we think we want to do.
Okay.
Ultimately, we will continue to do the face-to-face training for the rest of the existence of the company.
Okay.
The face-to-face training is still the best way to do it. But the face-to-face training has the same goal that I outlined earlier. It's like, so I already talked about that. You understand a little bit of the
Yep.
content we're trying to deliver, but we also want someone to have an alternative to the training process that their teachers could view and be comfortable to start using the product and be excited to start using the product without some sort of face-to-face training. So what might that look like?
Yep.
We have a lot of video that's already been created that is a demonstration of how, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. It is snowing outside here on November 4th.
Wow.
Anyway, it's outside.
Winter is coming. Game of Thrones. Yeah. So you want teachers to have the ability to do some of this on their own.
Yeah, and we've got plenty of video, and I see, I mean, just again, when we start talking about it, I see some sort of narrated presentation that probably has a few moments where we say, okay, so here's what we've just been talking about, and this is maybe an expert that knows a lot about Orton Gillingham, and we're going to listen to them for a few minutes on video. Then, okay, so here's a way where how you're going to deliver lesson number 4, and now we're going to give you a video on somebody delivering lesson 4. And then when we're done with that, I see a series of modules, and I see a series of modules that are short with a very specific subject.
Mm-hmm.
For example, a module that would be 10 minutes on the history of Orton Gillingham. So I just, let's just take what I just said and put it in, a video with some graphics of Sam Orton. And then series of modules that is, narrated and video supported content, and then a demonstration of understanding test at the end. And then some sort of report that goes back to the administrator that says, these 7 people have completed modules 1 through 5, and this other person has not done anything, right? So that's really what we want to build that's what we think we want to build is narrated content, whatever that it's the learning module, a test, and a whole platform to be able to build it so we don't have to spend a lot of time. All we got to do is set it up with a username, password, and those people are off and running.
Yeah. So that sounds great. I mean, that is totally doable. Beyond, obviously, when you're talking to someone who I can humbly say, to mirror what you said, our strength is, and we've created the best system for professional training on many levels. And I can hop in to start to show you some things. But one thing I'll point out, Tom, before I show you that, and I'll just look, it's enterprise level robust in terms of features. So there's thousands of things you can do. However, what I love about all the different client and partner relationships we have is that we're very much sort of an improvement science methodology in terms of if you're familiar with that methodology, which is, or even design thinking, iteratively doing small experiments. So what I like about what you just outlined for me is that it's very focused. I think there's things we could help you with in terms of delivering more value, even in that context, but we could also help you longitudinally over time to create something that grows and scales as we learn together. So I say this because we are not a typical SaaS platform that is designed to just scale to ubiquitously to as many people as possible. We're very much like you. So we hold hands with our partners. We get in the room, either literally or figuratively on Zoom, and half of our model, or maybe a third, is a design studio. What that means is we have great partners like you guys that have amazing content and things you've done, delivered. And truthfully, a lot of folks already have done this for a long time, and they're reaching that inflection point like you are, where it's like, all right, my teacher or my trainers are pulling their sort of hair out, during this point of the year. We love that there's this challenge, but there's got to be a turning point for us to slowly get into transition and to be able to scale and to sort of disintermediate time geography a bit. So the platform is designed to be blended, which is hugely important. So
blended, what do you mean?
You can it's immersion meets online seamlessly, which I'll show you. So, and the design piece is such that we even have factored in over the past several years how to do this with efficacy, is that we will take your awesome content, help you understand the best way to purpose it so it's prepared and ready, and we will actually help you design the best, most powerful experience on the platform. I think I added it up at one point. We have about 77 combined years of overall digital learning and community learning design experience on our team.
Yeah.
On all different platforms and in person. And I've trained, I've run design sessions in person and online, and my team has as well. And Lana, who I'd probably introduce you to help you guys, who is a director of learning design, and she does communities of practice across the world. She trains people across the world around creating dynamic communities of practice. So there's things that you could do on Jimsy Do in terms of peer learning and having interactions and engagement that could up level the experience that you just couldn't have on other online platforms.
Right.
And I wanted to share the design aspect because our model is just so diametrically different than other platforms that are just kind of in a box. It's like, here's what you have, and it's flat and unmotivating, by the way, but you can't change that. And P.S., we're not really, you'll have some customer support, but we're not here to really work together to design things together. And what's fundamentally different about our process is we do that, and that results in clients that stay with us for 5-6 years, that continue to grow, and that have really dynamic outcomes because our hearts and our values are in the right place, so that we then created this model. And we also have those backgrounds too. You have to kind of have the experience to do it. But I think what fundamentally sort of had us set that up is because we just wanted to find any way we could to drive value and strong outcomes for our clients. Because all our clients are in teacher training, and a lot of them are nonprofits, even if they charge for what they do. So we're all in this work to really help other humans. And so I think that really is a big difference for us, which you'll feel in any conversation that we have. Let me pull up the platform because I do want to show you a few things on this first chat, just to give you a sense of, and I can talk more about how we're different along showing you what we do. Excuse me.
Jeremy, where are you guys? Are you in New York?
We're distributed, but I'm in New York. My co-founders actually, so you're like you sort of bifurcate us. My co-founders in SF, And then we have folks throughout the country. And then we're not a huge team. I have someone in Texas, a couple other people. There's some center of gravity in New York. But I have someone in the Netherlands, just really about meeting the right people, with the right values and mindset and approach. So are you curious just in terms of like how we might work together kind of thing, or just like where we just curious what that was?
I didn't ask that off the top. So I wondered if you guys were all in the same spot or not. And so the content people, here's the good news before you show me anything.
Yep.
And I'll stop talking and start listening. But
no worries.
The good news is that we know what we want to say. We've done so many trainings, and again, I haven't done training, but eventually the people that, so whoever you feel, what you just told me was, and let me make sure I understand. You said that we're probably going to be working hand in hand with some content people. And if we communicate to the point where this is what we want the users to learn, that there's people on your team that will help us make that really cool. Is that true?
Yeah, we can help you translate that onto we can help you inform like how the content feels in terms of like right type of length and all those things, and the quality to which you record video. And there's a ton of different things. We're not like a production company. Like we're not going to necessarily record the video, but we can give you all the advice and tips around how to, depending on your goals. Like there's all kinds of best practices that we have. Actually, previously in my career, I actually worked in production, so I have that background, but like that's not our thing. But our thing is to make sure that, and we have resources, like if you needed some help to get production, we could help you, right? But we are the best at making sure that the experience on Dream Studio is the most dynamic possible, given your needs and desires and awesome content and the way that you want to message things. So we think about all the qualities of how does it come across, how clean is it, what are your learning objectives, and then we can design it on Dream Studio so that we leverage all of our features iteratively over time. Like we might test a few things out at once because we don't want to try to jam everything, and we have a lot it can do, which I'll show you. So we want to make sure that we really listen to you, and the hand holding is about listening and having those design sessions. I just hopped off a call with someone else we're about to start with who their training is more sort of like it's more fundamentals around like teaching fundamentals, honestly. Like you guys are focused on reading, so they're more around like PD for teachers around like how to kind of best practices in the classroom and sort of innovative models. So that's there. Anyway, just to say, we're about to do a thing where they'll as a perfect example, because I just hopped off the call with this gentleman, that we'll do they'll use the platform for the first year at least, and then we'll have quarterly sort of learning design sessions where we'll work together and help iterate this over time. So I say that again, Tom, because it's just been it's just so akin to who we are as people, and it's been so helpful. At least 2/3 to 3/4 of our client partners have already worked with us in that capacity. You don't have to. I mean, it's super DIY. You could use a site on your own, but I feel like you're an organization, and you in particular, I can hear from you as I listen to you that you want things done in the right way. And so, as you said, we each have our you're intimating or sharing, like you have a lane that you're in of strength, and we have a lane that we can support that in, if I can put it that way.
Yeah,
and so, so I think it's neat. So let me hop in here. Actually, let me just close the door. I'm in a conference room. 1 second. Today, I want to just show you top level. If you tell me, I will show you some things that relate directly to what you're sharing with me, but I also want to give you a sense top level of how we're different. And you started smiling when I was mentioning this earlier, but I'll continue. So Josh and I, my co-founder, when we started 7 years ago, we have had experience ourselves in a range of, as I said, some digital consulting, some teaching, some coaching, some mentoring in various areas of lifelong learning with traditional education. at library systems. And what I like about that, and what I always look for in our team, Tom, are folks that have that, because they bring such creative juices and other ideas that inspire the way we work and that have inspired the platform. We also use a human-centered design approach so that any feature you see was directly requested or even co-designed with our partners. So one thing I didn't mention is, in some relationships, we literally will do design sessions. Like I would fly out, or my co-founder or someone on our team, and we could sit in together and co-design things, new features, if that's a desire. Because our feeling is like this should be an ecosystem that can be enriched over time. Why are we locking people into this thing that we're projecting on them? Like I just don't, as a technologist and as a person, I just don't understand that, which is how because most companies, all they care about is scale and money. And it's not like we need to make money to survive, but we just do things in a very different way. So one example of that is that you can totally brand. We know that's very important, having your own color and logo and name and all those things. And we have white label solutions so that you can integrate it into your site in different ways, all that stuff. But beyond that, other companies do that, right? I'm not going to say that they don't. But what we do very differently, and one of those human-centered design features that we learned early on, people have different names that they use for their language. So like they might call it courses or programs. They might have we have a people area because there's humans that are learning together or from you ostensibly on the platform. So you can rename all the features, and it takes 3 seconds to rename a feature, and it will literally permeate throughout the site wherever that shows. So you can see here programs. If you want to view a program, that is one example. There's like probably 15, 20 other places it shows in the site. You can do that yourself. So you could call this courses, sessions. You could call the resource bank library. We have a full, beautiful, interoperable knowledge base. So another thing I'll mention is folks come into using GMCDO often using 5 to 7 other platforms, Tom. That could be Google Forms or surveys or SurveyMonkey, a basic LMS, or just online videos, Zoom to have, coaching for folks that they can't do in person with. For you, this might be some in person or on paper or via email, so on and so forth. So our goal is not only provide a rich, beautiful, delightful experience with a feature set that others do not have for interaction and engagement, if you want that, or for self-reflection and practice, right? So it can be both. But it also can be blended, so it leverages your ability to do these immersions, but to take a little bit of that time or a lot of that time if you want onto online, and you can blend it in a way that works for you. So the blended learning means some online, some in person, basically. And how you carve that, again, this is where we are here to help inform that process, because that's our expertise. But that can just be trial and error over time. We could tell you how it's worked with other folks that have similar models. But the point is that most platforms and LMSs, as I was saying earlier, you're literally watching a video, you're alone on an island. And I'm not saying video content can't be powerful, but that's been here for eons, since the 90s online. Reading a PDF, watching a video, these teachers or these folks you're training are very busy people. They're already, in your team's under a lot of pressure too. So we want to give proxy for other more engaging ways to learn and to be motivated. So that's what I'm going to show you. So otherwise you're alone watching a video or reading a PDF, and it's isolating and can be depressing. And so other LMSs have a very low completion rate. Now for you, because you do things in person, that's engaging and magical, right? But if you want to create a synapse that allows continuity over time, where you can prime learning before an immersion that you have or a training, or have continuity after that, you want it to be as engaging in its own way as you want in person, I would imagine, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what we've created, is ways to do that. Another thing that's really helpful from a productivity standpoint is if you have some folks in your team that would be using the platform, again, you can lean on us, especially in the beginning, as much as you want to help you through the creation process. We create templates that you can clone with one click. But we try to embed competencies whenever you're ready, so that your team can slowly learn to use the platform in conjunction with our work together. So that, the platform, we've been told many, many times, is lightweight and easy to use. It's very consumer friendly and, and delightful in that way, but it's something to learn. And we know that. And so we want to take the time to help you do that. So one way we did that was, as you're looking at things, you're literally seeing what your user, what your trainee learner is going to see. Other LMSs, you like as you're editing something, you make a huge state shift, and it feels very awkward and artificial because you don't see what the end user is going to see. The analogy I give is if you've ever used, as an editor, Squarespace or Wix, as you're creating even if you haven't, I can describe it. As you're creating the website, you're literally editing things and seeing exactly what that viewer is going to see.
Yeah.
So it's
Squarespace before.
Yeah, so it's so natural. So as an example, I'm on a page now with some courses that I can filter by progress. And again, all these things came directly from requests, keyword search, tags. Very simple and clean, but directly relatable to like how you might, want to use this kind of thing. But I am seeing courses like a student or learner or trainee might see, but I have, because I'm an admin, I have access quickly to hover over and have these one-click hot links. We make things one click away to edit, to clone a program we might have been working on together for weeks or months, to granularly invite people to a program, to do a mastery assessment. We have full competency-based assessment on the platform, or to look at a dashboard. So there's a lot of things that you also can show folks in districts to, throughout the process, outcomes-wise, either mastery-based assessment, quizzes. We track all the interaction that you can showcase as reports. So again, I'm not going to be able to go over all this today, but just to that piece alone, there's multiple ways to carve that out on the platform. Do you have any thoughts or questions so far? I'm just literally covering top level stuff. I haven't gone into any of the detail yet.
Yeah. No, I think we're at the point where so when you said blended learning, there's going to be quite a few of the clients that want the training, but we certainly, our ultimate goal is to make it so somebody that doesn't have any live training can still learn the tool effectively.
Yep.
And not learn the tool, but learn from this platform.
Yep.
The other thing that I was thinking and what I jotted down when I saw the resources, we have today, if you buy the Sunday system, our product, we have like a 10 question, we call
it's like a self-assessment kind of, or?
Yeah, it's kind of we call it a fidelity assessment. So how well am I using this tool? Are you doing this? Are you doing this? Are you doing this? Are you doing it to the point where the student understands this? Are you doing this? Are you doing this? And we literally made it the questions so they were yes, no. So somebody couldn't quibble, right? They have to
answer around the edges, sure.
And then they get a score. Well, you got a 60, right? Or you got a 6 out of 10 or whatever it is, right? And we can make that assessment. And frankly, why not have that assessment, right? How am I doing after 3 weeks of this, right? And now, again, you need an installation. You need how do I get started? You need a quick start guide of the Sunday system. But then over time, you can have these kind of, how am I doing on this stuff?
Yep.
Take a test, right?
We have that built in. I'm going to show you that right now.
Yeah, okay.
So right before I hop over, again, I think you got the piece about the ease of use. The tools are at your fingertips. We have things contoured around group. So you could have a group for different districts. Each district might have its own group. So they're all that safely. It's bank level encryption. We have Clever login for schools. Remember, this is all we do. And Google, which is the two main ways people log in. So we have single sign-on. All this is baked into our packages of pricing and everything. Making it really easy for your districts too, right? So that's the goal. And because we understand those needs. The group notion, and then I'm going to hop into that self-evaluation, self-assessment that you just talked to, is such that you can have a different group so that you could literally just switch within one click to see a different group. Not only that, but we can add or remove any feature you want in any group, Tom. So it's super literally modular. Like you could have one group that just had resources. And again, this is all around design. But the point is it's very flexible. And we can help you figure out how to use that flexibility. And I think, I don't know if I mentioned, you can rename those features. I did mention that earlier. So maybe you have the internal training for your own team, potentially folks use it for that as well, that has different names for the features, calling it programs or trainings, and for maybe a district in a certain area of the country uses different terminology. It's flexible for all of that. So let me show you, because, look, there's a lot the site can do. I just want to give you a sense of like a bit of a, what I would call like this, I'll show you the assessment and I'll show you how that works. And then I will also show you like our sort of the way that you can kind of engage in this learning that makes it so much more dynamic. And then we can kind of discuss. Go ahead.
Jeremy, so how about the module that I kind of talked about where you get this content and then you get an assessment.
Yep.
And then there's reporting to the administration about how we do things. Just show me some content that you built to teachers.
So I think like I can show you on the demo site. This is pulled from different places that we've had. So I mean, I structurally it's set up similarly. I mean, the specific content, this happens to be a program around empathy. So I think like, there's obviously many different ways this is used. I can show you another version of this from an actual client that allows us to show how they've done it as well, if you'd like me to. But I was going to walk through the demo just to show you sort of the way features work, and it will answer those questions. But if you want to see other content types, I can show you that as well. My only point is like we've pulled from various, like there's all kinds of types of content on the platform, and we just kind of created an amalgamation of different course types just to highlight how it works. So let me, if that's okay, I'll start there because it will answer some of these questions, and then let's continue to chat, and I can show you other things as well. First, again, like if you're looking at these programs and you're getting a sense of what someone might see, then you could quickly go to edit this program with one click here. Now, the programs, again, in general, this is why I want to show you this, is because you can create themes even within a program. So you might have various themes that are color-coded to make it visually easy for people to know. This is the first, it could be by week. Here's the first week of learning, the second week. It could be by, like here, this is the different themes: empathy details, empathy in relationships, and empathy in practice. And then you have various exercises or modules under each one. And there's a lot of detail of what you can do within each of those. Here's some content example. So what I'm showing you again is I'm actually in edit mode, but you'll notice when I go to take this as a student to show you how it would be as a learner, it's going to look exactly the same because again, you want to see what your user is going to see as you're editing. I just have edit capabilities now. What's really neat is, so we have all these different content types. I'll just show you that real quickly. So you asked about content. So here is all the different content types. We have some that others have and some that people don't. Google Docs is pretty rare. You can literally add a editable or non-editable Google Doc that people can use. Video, there's 3 different ways to upload. You can embed video as Vimeo, YouTube. Again, we have best practices around this, TED, or you can record or upload. You can create interstitially anywhere in a program a live video call.
Okay.
I typically don't start here because that's sort of an aha moment. Like we're like the only platform I know of that does that. Let's come back to that before we stop. I just wanted to show you the types. And we have embedded forms, self-assessment, surveys, and polls in any exercise. Or you can go here and create a separate one just to send out to a whole group of folks you've taught, just to do an assessment of the whole overall experience if you want it separate from a program. Totally up to you.
And then text and audio if we wanted to, that's obvious.
Upload or even record on the platform. It's super flexible. Yep. So
we can add text and then VO, right?
Yeah. I mean, yes. I'll show you what that looks like. So typically what you do is we encourage people to utilize. Sometimes, like for creating video, you're probably not going to use Gym Studio to create the video. I mean, there's other ways to create video. You're using Gym Studio to create the experience with the various content types that is articulated powerfully. So I'll show you what that feels like in terms of taking it. But I believe the answer to your question is yes. Yes. Here is a page that you would see, and then your learners could see this even before they log in. They would get a sense of simple. Remember, we want things to be very obvious. How long is this? This is all on like a basic marketing page or content page where you'd fill out these various examples of like what types of things are you going to have? Recorded videos, text, video reflections, and so on and so forth. What levels? This link can be shared if you want it to. You can see some social proof of other teachers in district that are doing it if you want. So it's totally up to you. But look, these are all things that help in motivation. Oh my God, I know my colleague Joe was doing this.
Yeah.
It seems small, but this is massive. So we are constantly focusing on the little things that seem small, but that will encourage motivation. Here's a public video that can inspire people just to come. This is Brene Brown because it's empathy and being vulnerable. But the idea is that you can create an inspirational video from the trainer or have one of your videos in there that entices people to come into the program, right? Even before they log in. Here's some more requirements. Something really neat I'll point out, which no one else I know of, no other LMS. Again, I'm pointing out mostly things that are different today than other LMSs and platforms and community platforms. You can type in and note for every single exercise, how long is it going to take?
Great. They're nice. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Might be hours, it might be minutes, it might be how we break it down together. We might encourage you to break down 10 hours into like one program over time, right? So that's part of the design, but this is huge. And
this is like the first page somebody would see on how to use the Sunday system, right?
Exactly.
It's almost like a marketing page.
Yep.
Okay.
And that can, exactly. I'm actually going to go in and show you again. I'm looking at the marketing page, but as an editor, I can edit this. I'm going to, because there's various ways you can test out programs. I tested it as a real learner. So what that means is then here's the basic CMS of creating a course. So it remembers where I was, but I'm going to go into the participants area because I'm going to delete my interaction. Reason being is I want to start this over to show you from scratch what it feels like, okay? There's a lot of capability here. All I'm showing you is managing people. It's super clean. Here's all the people, the editors and the instructors and the participants. And you see me, and I'm just going to delete myself from the course just to show you how easy that is. This is a beautiful system. Just the inviting and assignment system in and of itself is very beautiful and very granular. We train you guys on this. It's easy to use, but just wanted to show you that I just remove myself so that when I go to take this again, I will take this. So, if someone on your team was creating this, they could literally go through the exact flow that someone would go through if they're taking it, which is important in the learning design process. Yeah. You might have us do a lot of that heavy lifting at first, but I wanted to show you that's possible. Then I'm going to start this program, and I'm going to get to your evaluation piece right now. So here I am starting the program. We do not want people to hunt and peck for content. If you have an intro video for the course, it pops automatically. Little things, Tom, that we think about that are so important to the learning motivation process. People may not be able to use a computer. They can print any exercise, take it with them, write on it. And then if they want to report it back in, blended, right? Remember? Blended. They could take it with them, write on it, take a picture of it, and upload it as a response in the system. I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. Here again, if you hover over tooltips everywhere, this is the estimated time it will take to complete. Now we're into the content. Again, this is sort of text telling you what to do. You're going to be watching these videos and reflecting on them. And then here is an initial self-evaluation. Often and this is sort of best practices in learning design, you'll do an initial intake evaluation. This is right in the beginning of the program, baked in. All the data is visualized on DreamStudio. You own it. You can also download all of it, keep it, put it into Python if you want to get that complicated, which some of our clients do to play with it. It's totally up to you. But it's also visualized in graphs and such. So I'm going to go through the self-assessment here. This is pretty big, Tom, that it's baked into the actual program. Again, my point of not having to use a separate survey system, which is cumbersome to use, and it's not in the same system as the course. I'm going to complete this self-evaluation, and I'm going to submit it. This could be a right or wrong answer quiz. We have like scale, yes or no, multiple choice, you name it. Can you design the modules to say, let me just give you an example. I'll finish my thought. Finish my question. Can you design the modules so based on the answers to the assessment that it may get longer or shorter? So if somebody's been highly trained in Orton Gillingham and they already know the history of Orton Gillingham, and somebody says, I know the history of Orton Gillingham,
And so they don't need to hear all that stuff. Does the content?
We have a way of doing that. It's more or less where you can make certain steps. We have on our roadmap to make.
I'm sorry, I missed that. You can have.
So we have a proxy to do that, but it's more around giving agency to that person. That has just been our methodology, and we've gone back and forth on this, to be quite frank. And we are probably going to add a little bit more. What that would be like automated or recommendation engine. Part of that is just having enough data to be able to serve properly, to be frank, like so that it works well. Because if you implement a system like that, it could be very frustrating to people because they're not getting the right recommendations. So you have to reach a certain critical mass on the system as your own data, not just our data, because you're doing your own special thing. But what we do is we have various ways where we can make the surveys a little more. We have a different kind of survey where it can give you an output and suggest future courses.
Yeah, okay.
That's one way we could do it, where we can co-design those together. Those are beautiful. And we make steps either optional or required so that you can skip ahead if you want and still complete a program. So that if you know something, you can kind of move forward. Maybe you give a little comment to help someone else out, right? But so there's, again, it's all around the design of the learning.
Yep, okay.
So I completed this self-evaluation, which, as you probably are noting, is pretty unique to be able to do that in a learning management system. But now this gets really special. So you can, within the context of your learning, and this would imagine like if you're in a workshop in person and you're kind of teaching or coaching around something, people want to talk about it or respond to it. You might want to have people share ideas with you because that's part of the learning process. You cannot do that on a specific exercise on other learning platforms. You're watching a video and hitting I'm done or next. That would be like being in with one of your trainers in a workshop. They give some kind of cool description of something you're learning, and all you can do is kind of bop their nose to say next, and then they go to the next description of like what they're going to talk about. Honestly, it'd be that silly. We can set up together these prompts one time, and it goes out to everyone taking the training, and you can give up to 8 different ways to asynchronously respond with expression, depending on how you want them to be able to respond. Text, audio, video, a file, a picture, a Google Doc. There are best practices around not giving people too many options. I show 4 here. That's probably too many. It usually should be 1 or 2 to give choice, but not too much. But I do this just to highlight what's possible. Does this all make sense so far? So I literally wrote in a prompt, like it could be, there's thousands of ways this is used. Tell us a story. Do a mock presentation of what you're learning. Share reflection on Siri. Just one. Oh my God. I said something that sounded like Siri, so my phone just lit up. Share reflection on, I mean, self-reflection is so huge in the training process, like just that alone. Now, this might be something I want to reflect on and look back at on my own, or I might want a group that I'm learning with to see it, or I just might want my instructor to see it. All of those proxies are possible.
Yeah.
So in that human-centered design approach, when we created this recording feature, and you have a countdown, little things, right, to make sure you're ready. And I'll just tell you what we did. Folks saw that people were forgetting the prompts, so we added that to the top. So you remember what the question is. Simple, right? But now I know what I'm answering. We have a mobile app as well. As you're recording, you see the prompt over the screen, so you know what the question is. Little thing, but super powerful. So I'd recorded out,
Yeah, so somebody's finished a test or somebody's finished a module and they want to record a question to the instructor.
Sure, that could be that. I mean, there are literally hundreds of ways this could be used. You can ask them to reflect. You can ask them to record a question.
Yeah.
There are just, it creates asynchronous interaction. And P.S., it's threaded specifically into that one exercise.
Right.
It's not just end of course discussion board, which is probably the best of what other platforms can do. I just completed a form or a self-assessment survey in one exercise granularly. Yeah. By the way, I was given an automated reminder for that, which I didn't show you yet, that has an email baked in. You don't have to use separate email. You set it and forget it. I can also, people said, hey, we want to choose our own thumbnail because I don't want some crazy thing where I'm like, caught in the middle of a sentence and it looks silly. I mean, things like that make a difference for people. It's 2019. We did this feature in 2015.
Right.
So you can choose your own thumbnail, but people want that. Like teachers don't, if they're going to be seen and they're comfortable to share on, and that's sort of the early adopter, top of the bell curve people. Some people are passive, Tom, and I shared a video and you might just watch it, but you're learning from me.
Yeah.
So what happens next is And I don't know what your stop is. We had gone till 1, but I gave myself about a 5-minute buffer or so. I just want to get through this at least. People asked to share more modifying language or thoughts along with the video reflection. So we added that in there. And so now I can post this. Remember, it's a response. It could have been text. It could have been, something else. What happens now often is I've been taken to the next step, but I already did this course earlier today. So I would be presented with a screen that would show me, let me see if I can bring that up real quick. Just want to show you what this looks like. Sorry, my computer's running slow with this. Oh, there it goes. Here it is. So typically when you finish a step, one of a couple of different automated engagement response prompts comes up. One is, no one's responded to that exercise yet. So you see the people in your team or group, and it just has a big button say support them with a response. I'm showing you this because we do things to create automatic engagement if you enable that in your community. Now this might be engagement to put a response to an instructor, or it might be peers learning with each other. Again, this can happen over time, Tom. You do not have to employ all of this at once, but it creates a dynamic workshop-like environment. Go ahead.
Yeah, here's what I'm thinking is that, yes, of course, somebody can record a question via video, and then an instructor, a trainer, can answer that. And if it's a typical question, an FAQ, if you will, that goes into a video library of, here was the question, here was the answer, and it might help others. So it's not just for your team, but it goes into the, if you're okay, obviously we get they're okay to prompt, or so an opt-in on the, can we share your video? Great, it turns into sort of a learning community video library. Right?
Yep, and that's already happening here, by the way. If they chose to send it to the group, I didn't show you that. There's a way where you can choose if it's going to the group or private. Yeah. It will go to what we call real-time learning feed, which you can filter by program, by team in a feed of things, so you see how it went over time too.
Yeah, okay.
And by the way, a lot of these things you do, because we help you think about ways where you can leverage your cool training in a way that will create a strong program with efficacy. Might be tell a story, or just doing a reflection around your learning process is something that others might see that could, even if it's just your instructor that sees it, that can give you support or advice or feedback. So it's really around that as well, Tom. So here I am, and it went to this learning feed, and anywhere that there's like a video or an artifact of another kind, I can go and I can comment or just learn from someone else. And I can also filter by program. So I only want to see another program, and that will come up. You can break larger cohorts, because we often have cohorts of hundreds or thousands. It depends on what, into teams. So maybe I only want to see what my team is working on and support them and learn from them or support them. And then you can see just that activity as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So quickly show you one other dashboard and then one other thing, and then we'll take a pause and a breath, because there's a lot I could show you. But there's a dashboard here where, because you asked about reporting. So this is one place, the real-time learning feed is one place where you can see activity. It's real-time, it's streaming, but you can filter it, right? Which is very powerful. Here is a static dashboard of one program that you can see all those steps that you saw going down. Now they just go across. I'll hear all the titles when I hover over. And you can see, and there's a legend here, when someone completed a step or an exercise. Yeah. Not only that, but you can get a visceral sense of how the interaction's been happening within that workshop. So did they get a comment of support or an idea shared with them? It gets darker color green.
So just so I'm understanding, make sure I'm understanding. So we can show this to an admin at a district level and say, here's all the users and here's the status. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and the instructor, your trainers can see it and say, oh my God, Gabriel's doing a good job, but no one's shared an idea with him. This is what you'd be doing in person, Tom. Your trainer would hear feedback from someone working on something, and they just share with them an idea or help them in person. Now they can literally do it at 2 in the morning. They could see what someone responded on, go in here, see all the responses, or click a button to say, do a revision. I mean, it gets really powerful, like what you can do.
Yeah, cool.
How does this resonate so far with like the kinds of things you can imagine? I mean, I think we're just touching the tip of the iceberg, but can you
Of
imagine
course.
some ways that you could envision sort of using some of these features?
Yeah, what I'm excited about in this conversation is, I mean, you guys you're training. Can you give me a sense of? I mean, you're talking about training teachers. You're talking. You have other. Do you have other clients that are providing training for specifically school teachers?
Oh yeah, for sure. We have, I want to quickly show you one other version of that before we hop off the screen share, what that looks like, or just, did you want to see something or just know if
No,
we
no,
can?
no. I think so enough. I've seen enough of the platform to be excited about it, Jeremy. What I'm astonished by is that you reached out at the exact time that we were just talking about this, which was, I mean, good for you, good for us, good for all of us. But it seems to me that this is what you guys do, is build training modules for educators to educate more people. That's what you do.
That's all we do. I know.
Well, I'm astonished that I found you right at this moment, or you reached out at this moment, because that's exactly what we need to do right now.
I love it. That makes me very happy to hear.
So let's just talk briefly. I've seen the platform enough to know that I'm excited about it, and it seems to make sense that yes, you've taken that concept of here's the content. You can deliver that content in multiple different ways. You can, and I liked the idea. Your best practice is let's give them an assessment right off the bat. Where are you? Where you are? How much understanding do you have of this whole thing? And that gives them a score, and the mindfulness score is 37, and most people are at 67, so you better get your shit together.
Yep.
So it reminds me a lot of the stuff that I'm doing with our business consultant, that you start out with the value builder. We're building the business. Have you ever experienced any of that stuff, value builder?
I mean, I've worked with business consultants, but maybe not in particular. Tell me, yeah, what do you?
Hang on, I have it prepared. I've got a. Oh yeah, this guy. So you're a business owner, right?
Yeah.
That's probably backwards for you, but it says "Finish Big" by Bo
Burlingham. Okay.
Burlingham. Burlingame is actually how it's Finish Big. Bo Burlingham.
Burlingham. Yeah.
He's built with a number of other consultants. It's not just him, but he's built a business value builder, and it gives you an assessment of all the levels of your business. And there's literally like 12 different meters. And are you good at it? Are you bad at it? Could you get better? And so on. And then you build modules, or you execute modules with a consultant, or you do it yourself. And it's like, how repeatable is your business? Could you give me right this minute 3 years of income statements that made any sense? That kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And he's got, it is
like, it's almost like basic table stakes of like what creates a foundationally strong business, which so many people don't do. Or you learn on, we all knock our heads around for 5 years or something to figure it out. I raise my hand. I mean,
yeah. I mean, as a business owner, it just says how viable is your business is basically what they're all about, right?
Love that.
Doesn't matter. My point is, I think the platform. That just reminded me of you take an assessment first, see where you are, and then everyone, doesn't even matter. I don't care who you are, especially if you're a teacher. If you score poorly, you're motivated, right, to do better.
Yep.
And if it's not 100%, then I got stuff to learn, right?
And I would also argue that because the system allows you to do things in a way that are more interactive and engaging, we can test other ways to test efficacy, competency-based assessment that can be done. We can do actual, like, leverage those prompts and responses because remember, like, you can do a quiz, but if you have someone tell a short excerpt of what they've learned, that might be more powerful. Some of it we want to automate, some of it we might want people to look at. So it depends on like sort of where you lie in that territory, but there's so much more you can do in that space that it gets fun. And then we'd start designing together and try things over time. That's what we do with our partners.
Okay.
So I'm glad
So
you're
give me
yeah.
Great. Okay. So I think I've learned enough about the platform and about the user experience to be excited about it. What's the business relationship look like? What does it cost? How does it work? Is there a consulting fee and then there's an ongoing fee, that kind of stuff? How do you charge it?
Yeah. So I think the various factors are the following. One, we tend to, we will work with our partners, as I said, where we'll kind of have like a quarterly, we don't have to do this, but this is the best way it works, right? So the best way it works, and it sounds to me in our conversation like that we're feeling the same way in terms of the discussion, that we would set aside quarterly amounts of work together to do training, learning, design, all those various things. And that's just sort of like a budget that is some of our team's time to spend with you, dedicated to you. That's one part of it. The second part is just using the platform, right? So that depends often on the number of users. So if you were training in the next year in 2020, let's say we set ourselves up to get going now and to set things up and be ready to kick things off in 2020, it's perfect timing, as you said, even from a sort of like fiscal year standpoint, it's ideal. It's crazy. I agree. The timing is kismet. Not always like that, but this happens to be very strong. So we would get some setup going, get you a little comfortable, do some initial training in like November, December. Holidays obviously kick in. And then we'd really start our first quarter of design work would be in 2020. I would imagine, right? Like given that you have an immediacy, but that we don't want to rush, that gives us a perfect amount of time to get folks comfortable. And then we would decide approximately how many users do you think there's going to be trained in. So you said 4,000 last year. Is it going to be 5,000 this year? We have some that have tens of thousands. We have some that have 50. You're more in the middle. And then we scale down the pricing as you grow. So I'd imagine do you do a per user model in terms of how you charge, Tom? Like, how does that work? Is it like per?
Yeah, well, it's a little different just because we have
blanket like rates or something.
It's all live training, so we charge for a consultant's day, if you will.
Okay.
But we have in mind for this situation that we charge per user, and so you're talking about the same thing. Is it just there's going to be some consulting time that we pay your team to help us with design.
Yep.
Build a good system, and that's one fee.
Yep.
And then if we've got 10,000 users, you charge us per user. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And do you have like a price sheet or anything like that?
Yeah, and honestly, we used to have a price sheet that we presented to people, and it's just such a custom conversation that we literally blew it. Honestly, because I used to look at websites that didn't have it, and I'd be like, why don't they put their pricing? And my co-founder and I would chuckle, and then we were like, okay, we get it now. It was one of those things that book probably would have told me about, right?
Yeah, right.
But the reason why is because we understand people come in at different like levels of readiness. You happen to be in a good place right now. Some folks are not you've also been running your business for 20 years, so you really know your thing. So you can imagine the range of people's readiness. We like to work with folks that are more ready like you are, because we can get in and really get dirty together quickly to get, roll our sleeves up and get going. But our range of pricing is, and part of it is like, you might say, Jeremy, we can only charge X per user. Do you have a sense of what you might be able to charge your district clients per user per year? Do you just throw numbers out that you might be able to for this kind of program? Do you have a guess of what that might be? Even a range? I'm curious.
Yeah, I would say it's probably between $50 and $100.
That you could charge for this offering per user, per year.
Yep.
So we would work with you. We'd say, all right, if you feel like you want to make a margin on that, what does that margin look like? Do you need to make 20% of that, 40, and then we would price it accordingly, so that we can come to that range. So
But what's the normal start? Where do you start?
I mean, it really ranges from like 20 to as low as like $28 to $30 per user per year to as high as like $175.
Okay.
It's a big range, and I'm being totally honest. And it's fundamentally around some folks just don't have we go a lot lower for a lot smaller organizations that are really new and that simply can't get going. I don't want to like put if you can train 500 or 50 or 100 teachers, I don't want to say no. Yeah. So we have to, kind of price that accordingly. But if you have a per, and then that would scale down. So you guys might, let's say we started at $100 per user per year, which when you factor it in, it's like 10, what is that? Like less than, it's like $8 per month. I mean, it's very reasonable. We've also done dollar cost average pricing against other folks, but that might start to scale down as you scale to more and more users. That will. So we could use 100 as like as a framework to start per user per year, but that's something that, again, that we want to work together to make sure it works for you, and that we can scale that down over time.
Yeah. Okay.
That all feel resonant to sort of how you would think about things?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because essentially what you're passing the cost along to your, and then making a margin is what we want to make sure you can do.
Yeah. Of course I'm on a margin. I'm not going to get my print margin, obviously, but we can, all that stuff is, I can see how flexible you are, and we'll figure out what we can charge. And now that I know that, okay, it's going to be, I might eat up a significant portion of whatever we charge the client. We might have to charge them more, but we also have to consider what they're willing to pay. So we'll figure that out. Yeah,
we can work it together. No problem.
And then the design work, that's a per hour.
It works out per hour. I mean, look, we've done per project per hour. What I like to do is say, hey, we're going to set aside, somewhere between
100 hours.
It could be 100 hours, or it could be a quarterly amount, honestly, that works out to, I prefer to say we're going to do, a lot of our clients will do like $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 a quarter that of our time together or separately that we're doing stuff for you. We pick a number partly based on the depth of your content. So we'd have to look at some of your content, but I literally just had a conversation where we thought, all right, we'll start with $5,000 a quarter. And if it's not enough, we'll let you know pretty quickly. And we'll, but let's pick a point of amount of time we can spend together. We'll give you in that proposal, it'll say approximate amount of hours so that you can dollar cost average what the hours are. And if we're not doing that many, then maybe we just shift more towards the future. And if we need more, then we can let you know with plenty of time. But that's why we do this quarterly amount. Look, again, Tom, we're not talking about like crazy, these consulting companies that come in and charge like an arm and a leg. This is just to cover our time so that we can help you, as you can probably see. So that's why we like to do it in that model. It really works well. Okay.
And if I start to look at the monthly, yearly fee per user, I get it. Yeah. I mean, you can see you're able to put an opportunity in your CRM based on the numbers that I just gave you, where, we're going to train 7,000 teachers this year, and maybe 2/3 of those are going to become users, most likely. So you're in that range of what you were mentioning, 4,000, 5,000 per user. And that's only going to grow too, because that's 1 year. 5 years of training all those people, that number is always going to grow. So great, good for both of us that number would grow. So I get the idea. Here's the next question. If we started soon, and here's my timeline. On November 25th, I got to get back with my leadership team to give them a report as to where we are. And I've looked into X platforms, and I recommend this platform, some platform, right? I got to do my homework on a few other, quote unquote, you always want to get a quote from 3 contractors, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm excited about our conversation today, Jeremy. And I see, especially being able to, the other ones are like communicating to me in a way where they're more like talking more like if you're a university professor, right? You're training, whatever. That's not what you guys do. And
no, they're not. I can honestly say there's nothing out there that does what we do the way we do it. I mean, so when you said like the timing is, you literally found the guy, or I found you, or however we found each other kind of thing, and gave a hug. That's what we do. And it's, you can see, because it's the methodology, like you cannot be successful in this space if you don't do some learning design together, because it's such a special, unique way that you have to try things out and work in that capacity. But I get it. I mean, I would encourage you to look at other things too, and you'll see the differences. like you saw, I mean, you saw enough within 15, 20 minutes of the platform. And I didn't even show you baked in live video that you can do, so you could fire off and schedule live video and all those things. But I think we can get going. I think your question was, when could we start?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have, we can get going as soon as you want. We have capacity. So we're ready because, again, you'll notice with other platforms, they're going to lock you into their feature set. They're not going to be able to change the features. They're not going to have the flexibility, and they're not going to be able to stand toe to toe in terms of like our working together. We can even put into if you want, oftentimes I will come out myself or someone on my team to do a design session together where we really get together, we break bread, we work hand in hand. Happy to do that. I love that. I'm going out to LA for one soon in the next couple of months. I do that probably 5, 6 to a dozen times a year, depending on my schedule with conferences and stuff. But I could potentially come out myself. It'd be great to meet. And because I want you guys to have the impact and success you want. I mean, we dedicate ourselves in that way.
Great. And do I understand that some of your design team is in San Francisco? Is that correct as well?
Yeah. SF, New York. We actually have one of our folks is in the Netherlands. It might be a little harder for her to come in person, but she's great on Zoom. I mean, we could do it. We could do anything. She's willing to do it. She's done it before, but flights are not that expensive. It's doable. But she's fantastic. She's our director of learning design and communities of practice. Lana is incredible. So I'd probably put her on this project. I actually definitely would, because I think that you guys have so much going for you. Sometimes in the earlier stage projects, I don't need her as much because we're still really in more infancy or nascency of incubating. You guys have a fully fleshed out thing. Like you got a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really excited about this project, not just because we met you, Jeremy, but it's also, we know exactly what this training has been executed thousands of times. And that doesn't change that often. It's like you look at our website and you see there's an orange kit and there's a day of training on the orange kit. There's a blue kit, there's a day of training on that. There's a green kit and then there's a purple kit. But that training, honestly, yes, it's been updated all the time, but it's been executed, so we already know what the teachers are going to be excited about, what they're going to do more on. We know all that stuff. So all we need to do is take that and convert it over on a platform that makes a bunch of sense and enhances the training. I mean, frankly, we're told you and I are winning and kicking this project at we're kicking its ass if we've made it just better than the live training.
Yep.
If some client says, yeah, we had live training for a number of years, but we just do the online training now because it's so much better. I mean,
or these X people can now do it that couldn't, or there's a lot of different things that could, I think, improve your district's perspective. I agree. Look.
Okay, so let me ask you this too.
Sure.
Before I even had the conversation with you, we met earlier last week, and then again, right before I met with you, I met with my team. And we talked about a totally artificial schedule. Do you think it's even possible, based on your experience, to be if we got started soon, and that would probably be like December, and then the content team, what I'd want to do is work. I'm the visionary that said, let's build this toolkit in this way so it makes it super easy to use. Forget about what we're actually going to say, but this is what I want. I want the experience to be like.
Yep.
Then we start working with the content team in January and February. The people that know what the teachers get excited about, right?
Yep.
Do you think we can have something that would be able to be usable by June?
Oh yeah, I think so. I mean, it depends on how deep you want to go, but you have folks on your team that can handle content on your side, and then we have folks on our team that can. So yeah.
Okay. All right, great. I really enjoyed our conversation. I got to run, but so next steps are, I got to do my homework. And what would you, I'm going to ask you, you're the sales guy in this situation. I'm usually on the other end. What do you think we should do next?
I mean, look, I think it feels to me like one of those things where you try on the dress or the suit, the first, and you know it's the right one, but you still want to try the other ones on and you go back to the one you know is right, which I do all the time. So I get it. So if you want to do that, that's great. I totally understand. I think that, I'm excited too, Tom, and I think that you feel very primed right in our sweet spot. So I'm excited to share back with my team, and I feel like I would want to get a proposal together and get rocking and rolling together, and just you and I hash out what that like margin should be as business owners. Just come to an agreement and move forward. I have a lot of these conversations with different types of companies, and as you said, like not many of them are. Some of them like happen. It takes a year. Very few of them are like, wow, this is the moment. Like, how did we end up meeting, kind of thing. And this feels like one of those, just to be frank. And I don't mince words. So I had a conversation earlier, like last week, where I said, you're not ready. Come, like I'll tell people, like, because we want to work with folks that we can really help. It's not like yes, it's part of a sales cycle to make sure that we can, continue to grow our company. But I have literally tell people, if you're not ready, I will let you know. And then we might come back and reconnect in 6 months. But this feels very ready. And I know, because I do this work and I'm in the field, that like we are the right platform and the right methodology and people and value system. But so I would say, like I would love to get a proposal together, hash out that margin so you know what that would look like. And I think for me, like the starting number, and I maybe you could reflect on this. Partly it's my lucky number, maybe it's cliche, but I tend to pick a quarterly number around like 7K in terms of our design work and assess as we move along, because it's something that's worked, and then it can ebb down to 5, ebb up to 10 or 15 if we need to. But it's been a bit of just as a sort of a marker that we know that we have that amount of time that we need for a combination of onboarding, training, because you're sharing with me, Tom, like, hey, could we get this going and done by June? I wouldn't want to pick a number too low, but I'd never go heavy-handed, because I think that's ridiculous. Like we're not a bloating kind of firm. So it would be sort of like, and again, it's quarterly. And then if we needed more time to ramp you up, I would just let you know, but we have the quarterly planning to do that. So just to keep, that's where I would go. I would say, think about that. Seems like that feels reasonable to you. And then we'd figure out the amount per user per year. And then you'd be able to, we'd decide that together, and I could put that in a proposal, and we could get rolling. And then we'd have time to kind of get you going before the new year, to get a little training going and so on and so forth, so that we could be ready in June. So all that to say, to answer your question, I think it's possible. I still obviously have to look at a little more detail of your content to be 100% sure, but certainly this feels like the moment to be able to get going. And I'm glad that you feel ready, because you would want to get going soon.
Yeah. Okay, good. So Jeremy, 2 things.
Yep.
Can you put together a proposal? And I think a good place to start in the per user conversation, $100. Here's how we talked about it with the clients recently, before I even had a conversation with you. It would probably not be a reoccurring fee. We would just say, okay, so the best way. Districts hate the license, right? They love the idea of, look, you need a training for this thing, we'll just sell it to you for $100. And that user link or that user will last whatever, 60 days, 120 days, whatever, and they can go through. And
so they want to know, they don't want to like know it's over a year or whatever. They just say, we're going to pay $100 for each person that does this thing, basically.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. We've heard that before. Yep.
So we like the idea of the $100. We might think about making it more, but if we make it such a reasonable number, then everybody's going to sign up, right? That means we get more users.
Yep.
Can you guys make money if it's $5 per month? Like if it's $60 per user? Can you guys?
Meaning like you charge them 100 and we take 60.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can.
Let's start there. Let's do some more investigation.
Yeah, let's start there. And look, let's start there. Like you said, maybe you figure out you can buffer that a little bit more, but that seems like a reasonable start. And I think the way I would couch that is like, we would want to create an investment in our relationship together over time to where if we figured out, it's not working, we can share together honestly and move the group together. You know what I mean? That's how I look at things, Tom, and that's why I meet typically with business owners so we can talk about this stuff very fluidly. But I think that's a good starting point. I can put that together, put a proposal together for you and send it off to you this week so we can just keep the momentum going.
Okay. And then for my November 25th meeting, what's really going to help is, okay, so this is the overall project. This is kind of ongoing fees that we can compare. And then the next thing is, who else have you worked with? Just so I can give a pitch to these guys. They've worked with these guys and these guys and these guys, and we know that they're legit and they've got X amount. Just give me the one pager on, who are these guys, right?
Yeah, I can share it. I mean, I can even send you a deck, Tom, that like literally spells out how we're different than everyone else, kind of like in a narrative that has a couple of case studies at the end of clients of ours. One is called Move This World. They do social emotional learning training for thousands of teachers, about 7,000 this year, very similar to you. Another one's called Schools That Can. They're more of a convener, but they work with thousands of people throughout the country as well. So their case studies, and is that okay? To have case.
So you got it. People like us.
Exactly. And I have two case studies those are the top two I would probably put in there. That they're different in what they do, but they're similar enough models to where I'll just send you that deck and my team will customize it.
All right.
And then so I'll send that to you. So let's definitely this week, and then should we give you time to review, check in again to kind of tag back up. Make sure that we kind of vet everything sometime next week. Sound good? What are you thinking? Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'll look at the cal real quick. Set something up so we have it on the cal.
Yeah. Phoenix.
And I guess one other question. I think I know the answer to this. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, please.
Yeah. No, I'm meeting. I've got a leadership planning meeting on Friday next week.
So maybe you want to do it ahead of that so you have some kind of ideas rumbling potentially.
Yeah, the 13th.
Yep. Let's see.
Check in on the 13th.
Yeah, we could do that. How about, I have some flexibility in the morning. I could do at like 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock your time?
10 o'clock Eastern, correct. Is that okay?
Yeah. Yeah, just send me an invite for that.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay.
Great.
It feels good, Jeremy.
Same here, Tom. Really pleasure to chat. Look forward to chatting next week. Yeah, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Okay. Have a go. You too. Take care.